Hey there, survivors, how's it going? I'm your host Douglas here at Drownboy Productions, bringing you another Trick or Treat Studios product review. And don't start that autopsy just yet, because today the games continue with another piece from Saw. Today we're going to be continuing our journey, taking a look at many different Trick or Treat Studios masks and products this season by taking a look at another terrifying piece from the Saw franchise. For years now, Trick or Treat Studios has offered a wide array of different Saw products, whether it be the classic films that we're all aware of with John Kramer, the pig mask, and the Billy puppet, or even some of the newer films that have more creative, I guess, interesting characters. I'm personally not a huge fan of that pig mask or puppet, but we're going to be taking a look at something from the classic franchise that isn't even really something from the franchise itself. A majority of the stuff that we've taken a look at and a majority of what Trick or Treat Studios offers is meant to be prop replicas, typically portraying items directly from the film, TV series, whatever it is that this originates from. However, today we're looking at something that is a very, very odd piece because its origins are a little bit more unique. I'm happy to announce that today we're going to be taking a look at the Jigsaw John Kramer death masks from Trick or Treat Studios. Well, technically speaking, I think this one is the flesh mask and this is the death mask, but they're more or less the same product with different finishing, so we're going to go ahead and take a look. What we have here is a skinned version of John Kramer's face that is fully wearable. Now, as I mentioned, these don't really have any connection to the movies themselves, unless I have somehow completely forgotten a scene where John Kramer's face gets cut off and worn by somebody. I'm pretty certain this is entirely inspired by the poster for Saw 5, where it shows someone wearing John Kramer's face as a mask. What's really interesting is if you look closely at the poster, it is literally just John's face with his eyes and everything still attached to his face, with some weird hooks coming around the side, stretching it back over someone's face. What we have here obviously does not have his actual eyeballs intact, which makes for a much creepier mask. And what we have here essentially is that artwork recreated as an actual mask, minus it having his actual eyeballs in it. Personally, I think it's kind of a strange concept to turn this into an actual product for fans, considering it's not really like gory or really even all that creepy. It just looks like Tobin Bell with some skin stretched. But what's even stranger than that is it's not the first time that the skinned John Kramer face has been turned into an actual mass-produced mask. When Dompo Studios was producing their Saw line, they made one of these as well, although the sculpture is entirely different and honestly much lower quality than what we have here. I can't really fathom why anyone would want to wear these as a costume piece unless I guess you were trying to look like John Kramer, but still it's mostly just going to look like you're wearing John Kramer's face. Very odd decision, but regardless, they are pretty cool masks, sculpture-wise and finishing-wise, so let's go ahead and talk about the actual quality of the product. Obviously, both of these masks share the same exact sculpture, and I will say, I think they did a pretty good job of getting the likeness of John Kramer down. The one thing I'm not a huge fan of sculpturally is the way that they did his mouth. It just looks like he's kind of got his lips pursed a little bit. But for the nose, the eyes, the forehead, all that area, I think they really capture the look of John very well. I am a big fan of the wrinkles and folds around the edges of the mask where you can see the flesh pulled tightly and then hooked. I think that's really cool. That's one of my favorite features on the 2022 Leatherface mask as well, is the motion of the skin being pulled. It's a pretty cool detail, but not all that important. As for the hooks themselves, this is actually one of the biggest upgrades versus the Dawn Post version. Dawn Post had like weird, huge plastic hooks, whereas these are actually real metal pieces. And it's all connected together with elastic straps that are all stitched together to come into a singular 5-point strap system. So overall, I think the sculpture is really well executed on these, and the strap system is also a huge upgrade. As for the paint job though, both of these of course are very different, and it makes them entirely different products. This one is referred to as the flesh mask version, whereas this one is the death mask version. Obviously what we have here is a much darker, decayed flesh look versus this being a more lively flesh look. And personally, between the two, I like the death mask a lot more. Don't get me wrong, if you're wearing this and you have the hood on, if you're wearing the full Jigsaw killer robe, you might be able to look close enough to John Kramer. You know, it might be worth having a more lively flesh color on this mask, but personally, just as a prop, I think the death mask looks way cooler. It has more layers to the paint, it just looks a lot more intricate, and the color of that almost like turning green flesh is just really, really nice. Although, yet again, it would be pretty counterintuitive if you're trying to look like an actual version of Tobin Bell as the Jigsaw Killer. So this would be much better for that. This personally, I think, is just a much cooler mask and prop overall. But I gotta say, just as an overall, not franchise-inclusive, skinned face prop, I don't think this works too well. There's no blood on it whatsoever. Obviously, the way it's constructed makes it look like the cuts were very surgical and clean, which of course does make sense within Saw. But I don't know, I just would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit of blood, maybe the inside painted red, but of course these are just standard cast latex masks. It being cast in red latex or painted red is not a huge detail that's needed on all masks, but it's just the tiny little extra things like that that I do love. Now, as for the comfort of wearing this piece, if you do decide to use it for a costume, the mouth does have a small little hole cut in it so you can breathe out of that. The nostrils are cut pretty wide, so you should be able to breathe there no problem. And the eyes, of course, have the eyelids, but they're missing the eyeballs, so visibility should be pretty good. And of course, as for attaching it to your head, you have this 5-point elastic strap system, which unfortunately does not adjust in any way, but they are elastic straps, so it should be nice and stretchy if you have a larger head. However, if it's a little bit too large on you, not a lot can be done about that. And now I've reached the point in the video where I like to read you all the excerpt directly from the Trick or Treat Studios website, so let's go ahead and take a look. Here we have the Saw Jigsaw Death Face Mask for $39.99. Sculpted by Russ Lukic, yet again, another fantastic artist whose name pops up quite a bit with Trick or Treat Studios work. Trick or Treat Studios is proud to present the officially licensed Saw Jigsaw Pulled Death Mask. Sculpted using countless screenshots, every detail of Jigsaw as portrayed by Tobin Bell is represented in this amazing mask. To increase the accuracy of this mask, we've included real elastic straps and solid metal hooks. There's no plastic here. That's actually pretty funny. Get yourself our Saw Jigsaw Pulled Death Mask and Jigsaw robe and ask trick-or-treaters if they want to play a game this Halloween night. Pretty similar write-up to the previous one, but I did like the mention of no plastic here because I mentioned earlier, the Dawn Post version for these metal bits had full, large plastic pieces, and I'm sure some of those broke or just had many different issues, but these also just look a lot better. $39.99 does seem a little bit high for such a basic mask, but I'm sure a majority of the price is probably coming from the strapping itself, not the latex face mask. But yeah, if you're still interested in adding one of these to your collection, you can pick them up directly from Trick or Treat Studios or one of the many retailers that covers their products. And with that being said, I think that about does it. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. I love you all. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for some more videos coming very soon, and I'll see you next time.